thoughts of aging, mortality, creeping irrelevance, all of that, comes to haunt one. So why not use it in the show? And old Chucky is very disturbing.
Season 3 of Syfy's Chucky series is in the bag. The truncated run of 4 episodes was cut short due to the double whammy of writers and actor strikes that put the kibosh on production. So, as we await the back half of episodes, we spoke with Chucky creator Don Mancini about the doll's dealings in DC, the cast of victims new and old, the shocking celebrity cameos, and of course, the kills.
I'm gonna miss you, Chucky.
It's just till I kill 6 people. It'll fly by. Then I'll be cured and we can go kill your first grade teacher. Now, how does that sound?
Don Mancini is the rare horror auteur who has stuck with his creation throughout the decades. He wrote or co-wrote all 7 films in the franchise and spearheaded his current cable outing, all the while using Chucky as an expression of his inner feelings.
You have to ground this stuff in something, identifiable. It has to be about something. It can't just be a doll saying f*** and knifing people, because that would get old. As awesome as that is, that would get old after a while.
In 1988, Chucky was a reflection of his creator's disdain for commercialized kids' toys like Cabbage Patch Kids and My Buddy dolls. As the series progressed, Mancini began exploring queer themes that reflected the alienation he felt growing up as a gay kid facing abuse from his father. Now, 35 years after his creation, Chucky is starting to get old. Literally.
You have no power. This is your last vessel.
I had a big birthday this year. I turned 60 this year. So, it's an ugly number. I think thoughts of aging, mortality, creeping irrelevance comes to haunt one. So why not use it in the show? His decrepitude does advance, as we continue on in the back half of the season. And old Chucky is very disturbing. Very disturbing.
Ron DeFeo, eat your heart out.
Aging is never easy, but friends, family, and familiar faces can make the unyielding march of time that much more bearable. Throughout Chucky's existence, the series evolved a defiant, self-aware, and kitschy sensibility a la the works of John Waters. And just like the famed director of Filth, Mancini has also cultivated a tight-knit cast of talented actors to serve as the doll's companions and cannon fodder, and sometimes both.
The, repertory company of actors, that's something I've been doing for a while. But it's one of the reasons I like to do that is that it's fun to write roles for actors that because then when you get to know them as performers as well as people and friends, it's just more fun. Michael Terrio, who, his first appearance in the series was in Cult of Chucky as Nika's evil psychiatrist. He played Lexi's dad in season 1, and now he's back in season 3 as the vice president. And Laura Jean Karastecki, who I first met on Hannibal a long time ago, and we hit it off and wanted to work together. And so she played the evil nun, Sister Ruth, in season 2, and this year she's playing the First Lady. So it's fun to do that, to just think what new can I give this performer to do that they've never done before?
Don't you see him? Our Lord's image plain as day right here in this doll's face.
An actor like Devon Sawa could play a set of twins, a doomed priest, and even the most Canadian US president of all time.
What did we say about saying words like that?
But some roles are a little more set in stone. Brad Dourif is still the iconic voice of Chucky.
There we go. Can you see me now?
Alex Vincent is his arch-nemesis Andy, and Jennifer Tilly is still Tiffany, except when she's pretending to be Jennifer Tilly.
I just want to be me again.
After 7 movies and 3 seasons of a TV show, even the main players get an opportunity to experiment within the show's twisted sensibility.
Starting with Jennifer Tilly, really. Because Jennifer in Seed played Tiffany and Jennifer, and she continues that, throughout the franchise, including the TV series. She's often playing, it's Tiffany pretending to be Jennifer, pretending to be, it can get very interesting and complex. And, even with Brad last year, giving him variations to play on the Chucky persona with Good Chucky and Colonel Chucky, etc. It's fun to do that, to just think like, oh, what new can I give this performer to do that they've never done before? And I think that keeps all of us on our toes.
Eyes on the road.
Okay. Other familiar faces don't survive for very long, but brutally killing off celebrities in surprising cameos has become a beloved tradition for fans of the series. It's all in good fun, of course, reminiscent of the 60s Batman series where stars chomped at the bit for a chance to stick their head out of a skyscraper window and crack wise with the dynamic duo.
Hey, Batman and Robin, what are you guys doing?
Just routine crime fighting.
Chucky's cameos are a wee bit more gruesome, but just as entertaining. There's Sarah Sherman as an eccentric White House nanny.
Sarah having played Chucky in that skit from a couple of seasons ago with Jake Gyllenhaal, which was hilarious.
How can we stop this kind of thing from happening in the future?
By putting these bitches in body bags!
And that's when I first got in touch with her after she did that.
And Kenan Thompson as a New York City cabbie.
So when we were in New York last year for Comic-Con, Kenan threw us a party because he's such a fan. He threw us a Chucky party to watch episode 1. That was the first time I met him. And, I'm as big a fan of his, if not more, than he is of Chucky. And, he said, well, hey, do you want to come to the show this Saturday? And I'm like, yes, I do. So I went, and I'm basically meeting all of these people. Like, hey, do you want to be on Chucky? So who knows who you might see next year.
Yo, I will you up.
I saw you sitting in the rain.
Thompson and Sherman clearly relished the madcap campiness of modern Chucky, but even their excellent performances and horrific deaths were eclipsed by the season's most surprising cameo, by Big Fat Greek Wedding's Nia Vardalos playing a prison chef who makes herself into a meal.
They're both bona fide Chucky fans and horror fans, and so both of them were pretty familiar with all of our mythology. Nia Vardalos, a little bit less so, perhaps, not surprisingly, given that she's, the queen of the rom-com genre, which is, I think, one of the reasons she wanted to do it. She said, nobody ever thinks of me for this stuff. I said, well, we have, come and join us. And she was really excited about doing all of that physical comedy. It's a very Bruce Campbell type of sequence, that her death scene. And she's so great at it. So great.
With at least another half a season on the horizon, there are plenty of opportunities for Hollywood's best and brightest to show up for some slaughter. Mancini can't reveal any confirmed upcoming cameos, but he does have some long-shot dream candidates.
Martin Short, maybe? Martin Short, Catherine O'Hara. Having rated the SNL ranks, maybe now we can move on to the Canadian SCTV ranks. But I'm a huge fan of sketch comedy, obviously. I love Martin Short. I have no idea if he even knows who Chucky is. Janelle Monáe is a huge Chucky fan. And we reached out to her, but didn't hear back. So, these people are busy, obviously. If the vibe seems right and they seem like a good fit, I'm totally down.
This is not a movie. I already did 7 movies.
Chucky's journey from the big screen to direct-to-DVD and finally cable television hasn't diminished him in the slightest. The legendary animatronics that brought him to life in 1988 have evolved with the help of new technology and keyed-out puppeteers that give the killer doll a frightening amount of freedom.
I rarely feel constricted in any way. The only thing that kind of requires a long-term logistical battle plan is whenever Chucky walks through space. And even that has gotten simpler, but that does require all hands on deck. And it can be a complicated mission, but it is much easier than it used to be.
Heidi f***ing ho.
For the last 10 years, starting with Curse of Chucky, the puppetry advanced to a point that we didn't have to build the sets 6 feet off the stage floor anymore, which is what we always had to do, and the puppeteers would be underneath. Now, because we can paint them out, We can, keep the sets on the stage floor, and it's just much easier in all kinds of ways. I mean, just because it's just easier to communicate with people when you can see them rather than, them being under the set. We plan out in advance, we dole out a few such shots in each episode to give the impression that this is an ambulatory living creature that moves through space. Just by doing that 2 or 3 times per episode, that's enough to sell it.
3 down, 3 to go.
On top of the already arduous task of convincingly bringing a child's plaything to life, the show doesn't skimp on the splatter. The gore of Chucky is so outrageous and over the top that it requires an entirely separate budget.
That is absolutely the case. There is a, separate budget for the puppets. There is a special budget for practical gore effects, and it's Francois Dagenet who's been doing that for us on the show and who's phenomenal. He had worked on Hannibal. He had worked on Channel Zero, which shows that both Nick Antosca, one of my fellow EPs, met him back then, and Nick got him to work on Channel Zero, and among other things, he designed the Tooth Child. We're always challenging ourselves and one another to raise the bar. We like to keep the kills and the gore creative, and we like also on the show we like to keep it kind of stylized and incongruously beautiful in a certain way.
How many times have I tried to kill you? I've lost count.
Chucky has been around for a pretty long time, and while he never really went away, long gaps between productions meant that every new film was essentially starting from square one. But the franchise's new home on TV keeps the cast and crew as sharp as Chucky's implements of destruction.
One of the things that we're finding, and this is what makes sense, is that with the show, and this applies to everyone, not just the puppeteers, it's the writers, the directors, everyone's in shape, because we're doing it continuously every year, every few months for the last 3 years. Whereas before with the movies, we'd do a movie and then we're down for a few years and then you come back. But now, it's like tennis players, everyone's in shape. And I think that translates to the screen in all kinds of ways.
Season 3 of Chucky will return when the work stoppages end. Beyond that, only time will tell, but even though he's getting a little long in the tooth, it'll be a long time before this puppet is put to pasture. For even more on Chucky, check out why he might just be the greatest slasher ever. And be sure to like and subscribe to IGN wherever you watch.
And I'm gonna enjoy it.